Okay, there seems to be an issue with. Okay, we are live. Okay, there seems to be an issue with. Okay, we are live. Okay, there seems to be an issue with. Okay, we are live. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Niloufer Tamboly, your host, your coach, your teacher for on this. One sec. I was just hearing an echo. Hi everyone, and welcome to Cybersecurity Career Talks. I am Niloufer Tamboly, your host, your coach, your teacher on this journey with you as we explore different roles in cybersecurity until you find your dream job. Thank you everybody for joining me today. I will just go over a disclosure about, okay, so this is our disclaimer for today. The views expressed in this presentation and during this session are the personal opinions of the participants and do not reflect the official policy or position of their respective employers. This discussion is a volunteer-led effort to contribute to the profession and pay forward the many kindnesses and instances of support and guidance the participants have received during the course of their career. Okay, I have two privacy experts with me today. Punit Bhatia is a privacy expert who has helped large European banks in GDPR compliance across 30 countries and a large American-based manufacturing company in the privacy and compliance across 60 plus countries. Punit is the host of Privacy for Fit for Privacy, which is a podcast, and he is now creating online courses for individuals and businesses. I have with me Professor and Academic Director of Privacy Education at one of the major European business schools, George Ataya. And George is also the founder and Executive Education Director of Information Security Management. He directs Ataya partners and advisory firms after he left Ernst & Young, where we acted as a partner. And George was an international vice president of ISACA, and he's the co-author of the body of knowledge for SISM credential. So very impressive, George and Punit both. Let's start off with when we talk about securing data or securing information, we talk about the triad, right? The CIA triad, the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of data. So is privacy like the fourth thing? And from a triad, are we moving towards a square? George, can you talk about that?
Yes, thank you, Niloufer. Thank you for your very nice introduction. I'm delighted to be here. So at the end of the day, what we are talking about is privacy as probably the fourth arm of the triad. However, we should understand privacy, and the difference between privacy and confidentiality is that confidentiality is protecting us from the others, and probably privacy is protecting the others from our acting with their personal data. So privacy at the end of the day is ensuring that we are adequately managing their personal data, the private information that belong to people with in our business activities. So it is quite essential. And when we look at what is privacy at the end of the day, it is important that we understand that there is a business objective from ensuring that we are reaching privacy as well as confidentiality, as well as continuity, etc. So at the end of the day, our business, what does it request from the privacy point of view? So our limit to what we should reach as the privacy objectives are the limits of what our business requires, which means that we have to ensure that we have performed adequate risk assessment based on our business activities, our business objectives, and our business operations on what could go wrong with privacy and what protections we should put in place to avoid anything going wrong with privacy. And when we talk about privacy, we are talking about privacy requirements as being, in some cases, in some countries, legal requirements, and some other countries, it's simply business and liability requirements.
Sure, thanks. And Punit, what do you have to add to that?
I think the CIA triangle, then when we look at it, first and foremost, I think, thanks for having me here. I'm so happy to be here, and thanks for the nice introduction. So the CIA, as you mentioned, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that's what we looked at from security or making data secure perspective. While privacy laws like CCPA or GDPR or LGPD are now adding another dimension, that is we have to classify our data. So in terms of data, is it normal data? Is it personal data? Is it sensitive or special category of data? I mean, personal data, sometimes we refer it as PII. So that's how we need to start looking at it. So we may have the CIA in addition, but we need to classify, we need to categorize our data and manage data in different systems or within a system, different elements or different types of data accordingly. And then decide, maybe for the sensitive data, we will have additional security measures. For personal data, we will have slightly less, and for the other data, maybe even less.
Sure, thank you. And sometimes like there's a thing that says ignorance is bliss, right? So, but not so in the privacy realm, because what you don't know can come back and hurt you, and not only hurt you like loss of reputation, it could be like huge fines, right? So George, based on your years of working in the privacy realm, especially working in GDPR as well as like being a privacy expert in Belgium, can you tell me about like why is privacy now all of a sudden such a big deal?
Well, it is mainly based on the fact that suddenly, well, in the last 10, 15 years, we started to use very much social media. We started to use, a lot of businesses started to use our personal data as a way to promote products and services. As a result, a lot of information that organizations know in relation to our activities, behavior, interactions, involvements, become open in the open world, and in which may create some risks for some people, which may create some absence of required privacy that is the right of every person. At least in many countries in the world, there is a fundamental right, human right, that is privacy. While in some other countries, it may not be as strict as important. For those countries for which it is important, and we talk here about Europe mainly, and Europe with the French Revolution in 1789, they invented the human rights. And today, most countries adopted the human rights that is promoted by the United Nations. It is essential to understand that we cannot preserve a human right if we cannot preserve privacy. So we are talking about fundamental for the human being, while when we as professionals, we typically talk about fundamentals for the security of organizations. So here we are talking about the organization versus human being. Where should we put the focus? The European legislation in 2016 decided that we have to decide at a certain time to stop playing with people as being subjects and not considering them as human beings with rights, because organization, for many reasons, including economic objectives, including whatever professional reasons, political reasons, financial reasons, we started to neglect human rights. And now they brought it back. As a result, many countries aligned their legislation with the GDPR, European GDPR, such as California, etc., and such as Korea, such as Japan, etc. So it is important to understand that we have to cope with that new requirement, with that new need, and we have to align our organization, our business, our operations, the way we deal with people, with the way we hand over the data, the personal data to our suppliers. We have to deal with all that and ensure that nowhere in that process we are taking any risk with personal data that could go against any law of a country where we are operating.
Sure. Thank you, George. And one of the things that this lockdown, this mandatory stay-at-home orders, etc., showed us was that our customers are agnostic of, they could be like residing anywhere, and they could still be have an impact on privacy-related laws and regulations that are in place. So it's no longer that, okay, I serve this local population here, and that's, I'm not impacted with anything going on. You don't know where your customer is residing, and you don't know if, you know, it's going to impact your privacy. So probably like that is something that I realized as we went through this lockdown due to COVID. But Punit, as a cybersecurity professional, do I need to know the nuances of privacy to secure my data?
Well, the short answer is yes. The long answer would be, what are parts of privacy do you need to know? Because you don't need to become a privacy expert, but you'll have certain interactions, certain discussions with your privacy colleagues. And that's where, based on where you are, that is location, if you are in US, most likely it will be California Consumer Protection Act. And if you're in Brazil, the Brazilian law. If you're in India, the India's law, or Singapore. Or if you're in Europe, of course, the GDPR. And again, where your company is serving. If your company is serving European clients and US clients, so then you need to take a principle-based approach and say, these are the privacy principles, we will comply. So what you need to know is the concepts, and you need to know the principles, so that you are aware of what are the key interaction moments. Key interaction moments meaning, now, typically a data breach is managed by security or cybersecurity colleagues. But when it has an element of personal data involved or sensitive data involved, then you need to include the data protection colleagues. And if you're a small company, again, then it may be a combined responsibility of one person to manage cybersecurity and privacy. And then in that case, you just can't say, I will know a little bit. You also need to know a little bit more than the concept. So it really depends on the location where you are, because you'll determine which law to know about, or maybe a principle-based approach. Which size of the company and what's your responsibility. But in typical large companies, you'll have separate departments, and you need to know when to handshake or when to engage each other.
Sure, thank you. So this is just like we need to know enough of, say, PCI requirements, right? So yeah, that we can engage like the PCI group, or if suppose maybe you are not in a big concern enough, then at least you know that if there is any payment information that we are collecting from our customers, and we are storing, processing, or transmitting it, or to other systems, then in that case there will be like an impact to a PCI impact, right? And that needs to be taken care of. So same way, what you're saying is that I need to know enough, right, to know when to engage somebody like from the privacy office, or I need to know a little bit more to know where there is like going to be an impact. And wow, so okay, so I definitely need to know a little bit more about privacy related stuff. So George, how much should I know? Like what are the things that I need to know to engage privacy at the right time? Because again, like when we say that we should be moving security left, or we should engage like often and early, right? Like as a cybersecurity professional, I tell people, okay, if you need my help, right, at that point, it's anywhere too late. Like when you realize that you need something from me, right? So engage people earlier in the project, etc. George, when do you think is the right time to engage a privacy expert?
Yeah, well, again, what is a privacy expert? Probably it is important to mention our experience with the identification of the competences requirements for a privacy expert. When we had that legislation of the GDPR voted in 2016, we have been contacted since our university were quite known for compliance, risk management, and information security. We have been contacted by the data protection authorities, and they asked us why couldn't we work together to develop a specific education, because there will be needs for data privacy officers across the country, if not across the continent. So we have been working for 1 year almost to identify those 5 domains of knowledge that are needed for professionals, including all those legal and management related activities and competences, the mastery of risk management, the implementation of mitigations and improvement, we call them compliance transformation, the handling of all security issues, and the handling of risk and incidents. So when we have done that, we build it into an education, the question was, when should we require those skills? And is information security professional suited to do those activities, or do we de facto have that knowledge being an information security professional? Well, no, because information security competences is one of the domains that is related to those 5 domains that I mentioned, which means that there are additional domains that are quite important. They are not de facto or by definition known by cybersecurity and information security professionals. And sometimes it is quite contradictory or counterintuitive to be skillful in the 1, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 5th bodies of knowledge, because they are sometimes requiring different skills and competencies. Therefore, it is essential that, in my opinion, if you through your network, if Punit through his all the work that he has developed and the communication that he does, that you think about developing some kind of education that brings that experience that we identified here in Europe into all those other continents where there is we are starting to see needs, requirements for privacy. Even when there is no specific privacy laws, even in those countries or United States, specific states where there are no laws, it is quite essential liability for the organization to be putting in place those privacy requirements. If we do not do that, organizations will be required from a day to another, when there will be a law, when there will be a major liability, a major loss, a major fine, or a major court case, they will be having to reinvent the wheel, and in a short time, let's say 1 month, 6 months, whatever, they may need to put in place so many mitigations, so many protections, that it would be almost not only impossible, but also probably very expensive. Therefore, it is very important that within our implementation of functional systems, within our transition into more digital operations, we embed those privacy requirements. It will be very less expensive. It will be almost automatic. While if we do it on purpose, after everything is built in, it will be much more expensive, and it will be require effort and money.
Sure, thanks. We have laws, but not like a law which is named for privacy, right? So, and which started with the state law, with the California Privacy Act, which is the CCPA. Previously, we used to, like, I think FTC used to administer the safe harbor, which is the predecessor to GDPR. And we said, okay, if it has got like, so we had laws, bits and pieces about regarding how you will safeguard the information, right? But not like, I agree with you that there is no like single federal law which says that, okay, this is what information needs to be private. And that is more difficult for people to now like think about. So I think I've seen like most businesses say, okay, we are going to implement CCPA across the board, because there will be somebody else, some other states, which will come up with some other requirements, but at least we will get these basics baked in. And Punit, as a cybersecurity professional or as somebody who is involved and engaged in the data lifecycle, security controls, etc., what privacy concepts or frameworks would need my attention, or when should I keep an eye out for impact to privacy, and why?
I think the easiest way is to take a broader approach, because you don't want to be an expert in CCPA or GDPR or LGPD or so on. You want to understand what these privacy laws are all about and take either principle or concept-based approach. That is, you understand what key elements in a privacy law exist. For example, there's the DPIA, there's the technical and organizational measures, there's the requirements around data breach and so on. So you understand those concepts and then rely on them. But if you want to take another approach, you can take a ISO approach, so ISO 27001 or ISO 27701, or you can take a NIST-based approach. So those are then frameworks available. But the idea is whichever route you take the law route, the concept principles route, or sometimes companies also have a privacy policy in-house, which kind of neutralizes what is their approach rather than taking a geographical based approach, especially in large companies. So you need to understand that and then know where the intersection is with privacy. And we are not living in a perfect world. So typically, even in large companies, even when there are both departments, at least in my experiences, you have a security department and you have a privacy department, but people don't get contacted simultaneously. Sometimes you both don't get contacted. That's the worst case. But if one of you are contacted, you engage, loop in the other party so that you are taking both security and privacy together. And that's where, for that purpose, you need to know when and where do I need to contact my colleagues.
Okay, thanks. So this is the second time I have brought both of you on, because what happened after our first talk, there was a lot of my colleagues, a lot of people, and I came across a situation at work which said, oh, I missed something from a privacy point of view, which was a huge eye-opener for me. So I brought both of you in this conversation and today on this talk, clearly based on talking with you today. There is a lot that I need to learn, and I'm sure like a lot of people. Is there like any follow-up? Because I'm not interested in a long, like a 5-day privacy entrenched immersive course. So is there something which maybe you and George, because both of you are experts in privacy, do you have an existing course or something, or is there something which probably I can dig deeper into? Is something coming up, or what's going on?
Punit?
Okay, so there are a lot of things which are available, but as you say, we have the 5-day version, 3-day version, and then in the university, we also have a longer version which runs across weeks. But what we are intending to put together, and we will align more on that 1-day version of privacy, which talks about why is it suddenly getting important? What are the touch points with cybersecurity and security? And then what are the key concepts? So rather than taking a law-based approach, we take a key concept approach and then explaining which concepts are more relevant in one law or the other, because 80 to 90% is the same thing. Where it differs is the implementation of those concepts. And then we get slightly into the frameworks and converge it with the key, going into the day of a security officer or a cybersecurity manager and saying, when would you actually interact with them? So scenarios. So that's what we think about 1-day course can be created. And we can do that in, I think, fall. We can do it September, October. I don't know what are the modalities, how many people are interested. So all based on all those factors, I think we can develop something like that. And we are working on it irrespective of
okay, all right. So everybody who's watching this today, or maybe you're watching it on YouTube after today, please connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message saying that you're interested in this course, so we can get George and Punit both to do something, maybe a 1-day course, which is focused towards like IT auditors or maybe cybersecurity professionals like me. And because for now, what we do is we are classifying data. right, based on requirements, and all data cannot be secured the same way. So, but I'm really interested in learning enough to be dangerous, but not like going in for additional maybe like in-depth this thing, because because we have like other colleagues who take care of secure privacy from a deep dive perspective, and know enough to engage them, kind of thing. So George, what do you think needs to be covered in a situation like mine?
Well, certainly, let me mention the management related material and the technical related material. From the managerial material, we will be talking about how to identify privacy requirements within the organization. What is this translated into? What kind of data should be protected? Where that data is? What are the people within the organization who need to protect it? So we are talking about all information security protections that are necessary for privacy. There we talk about obviously ISO 27001 and ISO 27701, which is very much adapted to privacy. Those are international standards that are available anywhere and should be implemented anywhere. From the technical point of view, once we have identified that privacy is obviously a requirement in this organization, and as if you follow the chat, you see that we have a different discussions about the need for a privacy from the American perspective or from the European perspective for those. And I think this is a very interesting market, should you be located in the United States, where many organizations are working, dealing with European data subjects, with European citizens, and they have the obligation, even if they are not residing in Europe, any country in the world dealing with data, personal data from European citizens, have to ensure that they have implemented GDPR, adequate privacy and data protection officer activities. So please, if you are in the cybersecurity business, if you are information security business, if you are in auditing business, you may have huge opportunities today to serve those organizations that are dealing with European data, whatever organization they are. I'm sure there are many around you in your state, in your environment, and go to those and tell them that you can help them act, and we will certainly support you should you do that. Should you need that, we'll certainly talk to Niloufer, to talk to Punit, and they will certainly support you. But there are huge opportunities for you to go into implementing, helping them implementing. So from the technical point of view, I would say, whether we are talking about data leakage protection, where we are talking about privacy across clouds, across IoT data collection, whether we are talking about privacy across the programming and data and the web logic building, you have to control all of those. You have to ensure that your client or your organization have been implementing all those protections across all what I mentioned, even more than what I mentioned. So the issue is, how can you get all that knowledge to know where to look at to ensure that you have been doing what is necessary? And I repeat, this is, believe me, not at all the same as what you already learned so far in relation to normal cybersecurity protection. Those protections related to privacy may not be the same, may be the same, or may be completely different. So don't stay in that illusion that I am secure because I have done my risk assessment, my implementation, my ISO 27001 certification. That is not sufficient if you have not from the beginning looked at it from the eye of a privacy professional.
Sure. I learned it the hard way in the last couple of weeks, because there was something which was extremely nuanced in CCPA, and I was not aware of that. So I really, that was the reason why I said, okay, like in addition to everybody else, I said, no, we have to get these guys on. And because there are impacts, there is, I don't want to like get into the particular because it's like work related, but from what we think we are doing from a common sense perspective, what we are doing from a protection perspective as a cybersecurity professional, there is a huge hole which we are not looking at from a privacy thing. And that's why I'm like so eager to get both of you to come and present, probably like a one-day course or something. But definitely there is a lot to learn. So thank you so much for joining us today, Punit and George, and I hope we'll work something out and come up with this one-day training course in the fall. Please reach out to me so that we can persuade George and Punit to present, because we need to have at least like probably 20-25 people, so that it becomes worthwhile for them as well as for us, because they are extremely expensive, privacy experts and teachers, and we probably can't afford like 5 people getting together. So I want all of us to get together, but at the same time, we will not be able to accommodate like 50 people showing up. So we will close once I get like 20 people, and we'll ask them to create this course for us. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I will just close the live stream. Thanks, everybody. And please subscribe so that you don't miss anything which is coming up. If you would like me to bring a particular speaker, or you would like me to get a particular role that you're interested in, or more insight into that, then do get in touch with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. I get like around 80 to 90 messages on LinkedIn. I go through as many as I can, but I can't go through every. So please don't feel bad if it takes time to get back to you. Thanks. Okay.